Intricately carved Neolithic stone spheres found in Scotland and also in Bolivia. Hundreds of intricately carved stone spheres about the size of a tennis ball or larger have been found all over northern Scotland, Ireland, and in England. Some are irregular, asymmetric spheres featuring an organic looking protrusion. Others have intricate geometric patterns, lines, and circles carved on their surface. While most are spherical, some are shaped more like starfish with protruding legs, and they date back to 3000 to 2600 BC. They're about 5,000 years old and may have been created by the Picts, the Celtic language speaking peoples. Why did the ancient peoples carve sophisticated geometry into these spheres made of all kinds of rocks? Many were found near Neolithic stone circles in grassy fields, adding to the mystery. Why were they placed in the proximity of these ancient circles? That's what Hugh Newman, author, megalithic researcher, and explorer, asks as he takes us on a tour of the spheres and Scottish museum collections in Orkney, Aberdeen, Glasgow, Oxford, and Edinburgh, and London, England. Surprisingly, Newman then arrives across the world in the South American country Bolivia, where he spots a virtually identical sphere. He says, were they really associated with these stone circles? It certainly seems so. Even though they weren't found directly in stone circles, they were found in the fields around them. This really intrigues me because if that's the case, why were they placing them in the fields? One of the spheres is particularly intricate, the famous Towie ball found in Aberdeenshire. It's thought to be over 5,000 years old. It's almost 3 inches across and covered with incredibly intricate spirals. According to the National Museum of Scotland, it may have been a weapon or a symbol of power. If so, how or why did they end up in abandoned fields? And why were so few of these spheres damaged or chipped? According to the museum website, quote, the ball would have been the possession of a well-off Neolithic farmer. It could well have been a fancy weapon, capable of dealing a painful blow to the head if thrown from a sling, but it was first and foremost a symbol of power, an elite weapon of social exclusion, adorned with sacred symbols that resemble those carved into the stones of a faraway passage tomb at Newgrange in the Boyne Valley of Eastern Ireland. Unquote. Along with the spheres, relief carvings of spirals and geometric shapes have been found, but not just in Scotland. Over 6,000 miles away, at the site of Tiwanaku in Bolivia, similar carvings were found. Meanwhile, in Lake Titicaca, Newman found a stone sphere with 6 sides that closely resemble one of the Scottish stone spheres. It's on display at the Tiwanaku Museum in La Paz, Bolivia. Such patterns are found all over the planet. Some are saying it's more evidence of an ancient, advanced worldwide civilization. Spherical metal objects dating back 6,000 years have been found near the Dead Sea, in the treasure of Nahal Mishmar in the Judean desert, and they were made of copper and thought to represent the sun. Could the Scottish stones have represented the sun or the moon? There are endless arrays of ideas about what these objects were used for, from weapons to message tools, healing stones, to weights, to tools used to roll larger stones. However, since most of the spheres are in relatively good shape, their use as weapons or tools seems less likely. The placement in fields might indicate some use concerning growing crops, with some suggesting that magnetic fields or natural energies were at work. On the other hand, could the beautifully carved stones have been offerings to gods left as gifts in the hopes of a bountiful harvest? Newman believes the intricate carvings might be references to sacred geometry or Archimedean and Platonic solids. These are complex polyhedra shapes enumerated by Archimedes and Plato. If so, does this indicate that Neolithic people had an advanced understanding of mathematics? Another idea is that the elaborate shapes may have had some use in surveying and astronomy, considering their proximity to stone megalithic circles. These were places to observe seasonal changes in the stars, moon, and the planets. Perhaps these spheres were placed on the ground to mark the location in the sky of these celestial bodies. Nobody knows why the spheres were found near the stone observatories, but not within. Today, we recognize some of these shapes as similar to the atomic or cellular structure It seems impossible that ancient people would know of such things. However, since we don't know anything about who made these objects or why, we can't rule it out entirely. So what do you think? What could these things be? Please leave your comments. This is by Ancient Code, and it's on Humans Are Free. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.